Hello and welcome to week 6 of the Road to London of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And it's flying by, isn't it, Thommo? You will by now be getting into starting to build up the long runs. I mean, I think we're going to hear from Sophie Raworth. We're going to check in with her a little bit later on. She might be a bit ahead of the curve because I know she likes to keep her long runs up high. But most people will just be starting to think about edging that up at this stage, right?
Yeah, I think, well, to kind of talk about Harry and Gab, training partner, recently, there was, they had a good start to it, and then Gab got a little bit under the weather, and it was just reminding him a few days here is fine at this stage.
Yeah.
You got off to a good start, and you certainly don't need to take risks at this point, and they will be actually, when this goes out, they will have done a bit of a park run as part of a training session, just to break up some of the monotony, I think, because obviously we can talk to Sophie a bit about how she does the long runs, how she breaks it up, makes it manageable, because I think sometimes we can forget that euphoria of starting on a quest. You still need to kind of keep the enthusiasm high and still manage that training. So I think, going easy on yourself and sort of including maybe like a park run or something in there just to break things up is really handy.
And you make a really good point that it is that time of the year. The weather is either pouring down with rain or freezing cold outside or blowing a gale, or it yo-yos and it gets warm for a couple of days and then goes back again. All of that doesn't help with the amount of colds and viruses flying around. So I think it is worth remembering that it is a long build to London. It is a 16-week build, and we probably anticipate most people are going to have to take some time off within that, either for niggles and injuries or for little bits of illnesses. And remember what we keep banging on about, it's better to be 100% healthy and a little bit undertrained than it is the other way around. So more important to listen to your body, keep taking those morning pulses, keeping that immune system boosted up with all of the good nutrition and recovery and sleep as well.
Definitely. And I think it'd be good to get from Sophie what kind of distance run she's doing at the moment, but certainly at the moment, I like, certainly with the boys, I'm not trying to worry too much about the pace and just build up the tolerance of time on feet, and you can start getting a bit more jazzy down the road with the kind of paces you may or may not be, because not everyone's thinking about a time. Some people just want to get round, which is, I think, what Sophie is. She's more concerned with her daughter doing it for the first time, and I think there's an important difference between, like I say, time and feet versus pace aims, but the overall point at this point is it's still very much about building that tolerance and building that ability to grow into the space you're trying to get to, which is either, whether that's a bit quicker or doing more volume or both.
Exactly. And what did you do? Did you focus on time on feet or distance as you built up the long run? I think I used to do it to time, but I of course measured the distance in that, and I like to see going a little bit further in the same time.
Yeah, I in the early, again, without going too much detail here, a lot of it would depend on where I was coming into the training block, because sometimes I have in a couple of times come off marathon blocks not long ago, and so the tolerance of training was there, so I concentrated a bit more on speed because I had the background, and so I played around with the fact I could tolerate a bit more in the early days and get ahead of the game. On marathons where it'd been a while, say I'd come off like more track speed, I remember in 2018 I came off the back of a really good track season and I was doing New York Marathon, and my issue was I was too quick and I was trying to slow myself down and trying to do longer runs, but really force myself to kind of respect the distance. So it was very much based on what tools I was coming to the party with, in a way, and trying to, but I'm ultimately 4, 5, 6 weeks out, I'm trying to get to the same place, but how you get there was very much determined by what condition I was in beforehand. But yeah, at the beginning, it's that I go back to that word tolerance. You're just trying to lay the tolerance foundation, isn't it?
And also finding out what works for you. And we've got a great guest coming up this week in Nicola Carragher. She did make a short guest appearance on the last series of Building into London Marathon, if we remember, out in Tokyo, when we both ran the Tokyo Marathon out there. And Nicola, complete newcomer, just decided she was going to turn to marathon running, take up the challenge, suddenly do all 6 majors in 1 year, and then decided to add Sydney on top of that. So phenomenal lady. She raised a huge amount amount of funds for and awareness for Alder Hey Children's Hospital in Liverpool along the way. And it'd be good to chat to her about how she built that up because she genuinely, I mean, she'll tell us herself, but she genuinely came in, I think, as a complete novice to running and built it up from there. And try and remember to ask her about her gels as well, because I remember there being a steep learning curve with gels. And I think it was in Tokyo where she had Jamie go all over the city delivering gels, and then she had some studies done and she was way over fueling. So poor Jamie didn't need to get the metro over Tokyo, quite around Tokyo, quite as much as he did. I think that's a cool story.
I'm sure he got over it.
I think it was a funny story that he managed to get as far as he did without getting stopped all the time.
But the thing is, though, it's sometimes don't underestimate the moral support. Even if it's not necessarily the moral support there for a marathon runner plays a huge part in all this. So even if it wasn't needed or whatever, just the fact he cared and he was there, like everyone that has in their support team, it does give you that extra bit of oxygen.
Definitely. So you start saying thank you to your support team and planning how they're going to be at different points along the route, because it absolutely, definitely helps.
You could even advise them, give them a map of London. Pick out a few key points you'd like them to be.
Yeah.
Not every mile.
Give them a challenge to get there.
Yeah. And so I need you here at this point.
Definitely. Definitely. So shall we get into the interview with Nicola? Yes. Looking forward to this one.
Perfect.
And for week 6 of this Road to London of Paula's Run Club, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back Nicola Carragher. How do we introduce you, Nicola? I mean, I think it was inspirational the way that you came back to running and particularly seized the mantle and the challenge of marathon running last year and decided that 1 marathon wasn't enough. You had to come back for 7 in the first year. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And you also raised a huge amount for Alder Hey Children's Hospital, right?
Yeah.
So that was that one of your reasons for coming to marathon running, or was that just something that you decided to add in once you decided to run the marathons?
I think it definitely inspired me to run the 7. I mean, it started off just a personal challenge that I did want to do 1 marathon. I didn't know nothing about the World Majors at the time. So when I did realise that, God, I could run all these in a year, I'd gone to a dinner for Alder Hey. Jamie's a patron, so we'd gone to a dinner and I was listening to all these stories and how much people help. And I'd listened to one person saying what they'd done. And then I just turned to Jamie and said, right, I'm gonna run all of them, which was 6 at the time. I said,
as you do
for Alder Hey. That, and I think because it was such a big challenge, I needed something to run that was bigger than me, because it was so out there what I was deciding to do. And I think when you've got something meaningful that you're running to, I do think that it can spur you on and make you want to do something. That's like a real challenge for people who are obviously going through things themselves, who depend on the hospital a lot.
See, that journey you've been on through marathon, I think that's you, just to pick on a couple of things you said there about, it's bigger than you and the challenge needs to match, obviously, the raising of the money. So how has that personal journey for you been like from the start, the daunting challenge of running just 1 marathon to doing as many as you have and training for more and doing more running? How has that journey for you personally been?
Honestly, without sounding like cringe or anything, like it's changed me as a person. I genuinely feel like a different person from having done them. And it's for me, it would be the mental side of it. Things that you don't think that you'd be able to do after you've done them. Like sometimes, like I'd be afterwards sitting there thinking, wow, I can't believe I've done that. And then obviously with having the next ones to run, I couldn't enjoy it as much, because I'd be like, right, okay, it's the next one now. And with each one, I genuinely do feel like I never, even if I was having challenges or things that wasn't going my way, I was like, right, okay, well, you did it for that one, and you'd add that up against you. So you'll be able to do this one as well. So I do think mentally it prepares you for anything. I don't think there's nothing I can do now because of, it sounds crazy to say, but I just do believe it tested me with my limits mentally.
And I love that. I mean, I remember you telling us the story. Was Berlin your first one? Is that right?
Yeah,
So Berlin was your first one, and Jamie had to bring you off the plane in a wheelchair. Is that one?
yeah.
So,
When I
and then
literally,
you still went
I
straight
went,
rolling into Chicago.
yeah. And I was, for Chicago, for me, I genuinely thought that I just thought, oh, I've never ran a marathon before. This is normal. This is the pain that you're meant to feel. So I rested. And then when, I was asking people, I'm not a pro. I basically feel like I winged the whole thing. So everyone was like, you rest now. I didn't know anyone that had ran one 2 weeks later. So they were like, you don't run, you just rest now and then you'll run the Chicago. And I was like, okay. And that suited me fine because it was just about walking after a couple of days rest. And then I knew within the first mile of running the Chicago that I was in trouble. I felt the pain instantly within the first mile and I panicked. And that is the marathon for me that tested me, and people would think that, people say that's an easy one because it's flat. Thankfully that was that one, because had that have been New York, which was a couple of weeks later, and as you know, quite hilly, I would have had to stop. I wouldn't have been able to carry it on. And that was a mental one for me to keep going, was Chicago. I was actually stunned afterwards, to be honest, because if I thought I couldn't walk for Berlin, wow, I was in a terrible state after Chicago.
I mean, that's
And
one of those.
where was the pain you felt? Sorry, Thommo. You said
So it
you
wasn't,
felt pain in the first mile.
yeah, in my knee, and that wasn't I got my first injury, or maybe a twinge or something, was a week before Berlin. I had a bit of a hamstring strain at the back of my leg, started in my glute. I'd gone to a Pilates class with my daughter Mia, just for something to do, and I felt a tight pain in my glute. And then I'd done all my running, I'd tapered down, and I had a 5 mile run to do, and I'd gone on a run, and I felt a pain down the back of my hamstring. So that's all I had going into Berlin, was like a hamstring pain and like a bit of a pain in my hip. And then by the end of Berlin, I felt the pain in my knee like the last 3 miles. But I genuinely just thought it was maybe overcompensating. It wasn't nothing big, and it was just from running the marathon. And then I ended up having to get an injection after Chicago to run New York, and then another one after New York. And then I obviously had the rest over Christmas and some rehab, and then get back into my training with Tokyo.
What I was going to ask was because I think the power of building up evidence that you can, for lack of a better way
Yeah.
of phrasing it, I've always found quite powerful for running. Like you say, that when you are faced with again, for lack of a better word, like you're standing at the bottom of what seems like an Everest in that moment. You're in a wheelchair, like you say, and how do I get around a marathon in a week or so? But you manage to do it. It just adds that evidence base that you can and you will, and you're doing it. And I guess that's kind of. Do you find that kind of repetitiveness of proving self-doubt is a way of almost not eradicating it, but just keeps you coming back for more?
Yeah, I think because I'd never put myself out there and done anything of this magnitude, and I do believe that I've always told my kids, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And I think for me, it was about maybe giving myself the advice that I used to give my kids. So I'd be like, you know, I took them as like little chunks. I never looked ahead at the end, like whether I was going to do the 6. I did really just do it as in like, right, what's the next marathon,
Yeah.
and what I was prepared to do. And then it was almost relief after each one. I gone, right, oh my God, one's done. And then I'd build myself up again. I would say it was only Chicago where my brain was going to I was going to finish, and it was someone was going to have to come and get me. And when the way you well, I don't know, for me I can visualize things where I can say, oh, I can visualize finishing it and being like, right, that's done, that one's done. I couldn't for the Chicago. It was so tough. And at one point I was sat on the side of the sidewalk, and everyone was phoning me because the TN had stopped on the app, and I could not answer the phone. I was like, if I answer, I think I'll start crying, and then my husband will be like, right, I'm coming to get you. I knew this would be too much, like it was the second one at this point, and the stubbornness in me, I was like, I just can't answer this phone to anyone. So then I was like, right, okay, just I don't know, maybe me kids, I was like, if your kids needed you now, you'd run. You'd run. It's, nothing's going to happen to you. Even if you're in pain, it's just pain. Just run it.
Wow.
But you
And
are,
I
I mean,
did,
you're
and I was stunned with myself after it, because it's not that it was, when people say, oh, what's your best marathon, or what was your hardest marathon, I think they're expecting me to say my hardest. I had favourite ones and hard ones for all different reasons, because of the nature of them being so close. So I can't maybe look at it the way someone did just running one marathon. I had things that tested me on every single one, to be perfectly honest, but that was definitely up there with my first one.
Well, I think it's so inspirational, isn't it, Thommo? You can kind of bottle your attitude, and it's actually fascinating, because if people looked at your family and said, okay, for these kids, who do you think is the best role model for mental strength? Sorry, Jamie, but it's you, hands down, Nicola. It's like people would guess, if they were looking at it, they would say Jamie, because of what he's been through, and he's played and he's performed on the big stage in the public eye. But I think that fortitude that you've demonstrated, when we put this in perspective, that's your second ever marathon. And then you went on to do another 5 after that. And in quick succession as well. It didn't put you off. You just relished that challenge and you came through it. And I think it's the beauty of the marathon, that there are tough spots in every one. And we all learn from them and we move on. But for you to grasp that in your first one, I mean, in all honesty, most people would have not gone back after the first one. And you've still risen to that challenge. And yes, you've got the huge motivation on the side of Alder Hey and the amount. Just remind us how much you raised for them.
I don't know what
it was a phenomenal amount. I'm sure it was. I'm sure I read it somewhere, and it was a really, really big amount. And really, you'd gone in as a novice, but you've kind of got the mental bit down. That some people take years and years and years to get to that point, don't they, Thommo? Of that mental strength.
Maybe because Jamie is my husband and I put myself out there and I never had done before. Maybe that was a spurring factor, of doing it. But also, I did want to prove. I'm not saying to other people, but a lot of people didn't think that I'd be able to do it. I had people that laughed at me when I said I was going to do it. And they were like, "What? You've never run before, and you're running?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think that spurred me on as well. I was like, "No, I can visualize myself doing it." And I wrote this little, on the day I decided to do it, I wrote this like little manifestation thing in my notes in my phone. And anytime I'd just go on and have a little look at it, and honestly, it is really cheesy, but it was like, this will be the biggest challenge you'll ever do, but you'll be able to do it if you prep, you do this, you do that. I wrote all these things to myself that if I ever was in doubt, I'd just read it and go, no, at that day, you believed that you could do it. And if I was ever in doubt, I'd just go back and say, that girl in that day, in that moment, felt that she could do it when she set this challenge. So you don't ever doubt yourself. And if it creeps in, go back to what you believed at the beginning, before all the injuries come in, or before you realise what you think it is. I think sometimes just having belief in yourself and don't let it, don't lose it, is hard. It's hard to do that, but pulling yourself back to what you wanted and believed you could do at the beginning, when I felt me fittest and strongest, then it does become more a mental thing, I suppose, more than a physical thing.
And you had to learn so much. I mean, it sounds like you had the psychology bit down pat, but actually for the marathon, you had to learn a lot as you were going through. I remember you telling us the story about the gels. Was that in Tokyo, where you took too many gels?
No, so I'd give them to Jamie. So in my first 2, I carried all the gels, and I just felt like I was waddling with all these gels. So because I gave them to him and was like, right, I'll carry a few, and then I'll give you some gels, and then I'll pick them up off you. And obviously in my head, I think that's going to go to plan. He's going to be exactly where I think he's going to be. And you know what it's like when you're running, you're in such a trance. Like even sometimes when I've seen family members and they've come to see me, I've just waved at them, and after I've ran, when it hits me, I've gone, why didn't I stop and go over and give them a hug? Like they've come all this way. But it's just because maybe you're not expecting to see them. And I don't know if your brain's lagging a little bit when you're running, or you're just not expecting it, that when it catches up with you, you're like, wow, I should have maybe gone over and seen them and give them a hug. But it was a bit like that with Jamie with the Tokyo, with the gels. So he'd said to me, I'll see you at mile 20 or whatever, but he couldn't get to mile 20 or 21. So he was like 18 or 19. So I waved at him because in my head I thought that's the mile he was going to be at. And then I realised afterwards, I was like, oh no, that was my chance to get the gels off him. So I ran the end of it without with no gels, and I didn't, I was okay, but it was my first time of ever feeling like that cramp coming towards like the last 2 miles, of that feeling of like what people say, the wall, or that cramp feeling.
And in Tokyo, because in Tokyo they were really strict as well. You couldn't carry any form of liquid, could you?
No, but I did sniff the bottle. It was the bottle, wasn't it?
Oh, did you?
See,
I needed some of your advice before that one, because that one I really fell apart in the closing stages, because I think I was just, never mind hitting the wall, just dehydrated.
It was a lot warmer as well, Tokyo, than what it was supposed to be,
warm,
wasn't it?
and the cups had a tiny little bit in the bottom of each one, which I wasn't good at drinking anyway. Most of it went either side of my mouth rather than in it. And so I really, really struggled with that one. But I think that, combined with not getting the gels, probably made that. Well,
that's what I'd done different. I'd done powder. So like it was electrolyte and like a carb form, and you had to mix it with water. So when they said you couldn't bring the bottle in, I was like, how am I mixing this? I'd only brought this, and like some caffeine gels towards the end. So because these are quite big pouches, that's why I give them to Jamie. So I had to sneak this little bottle in. And don't get me wrong, if someone had said, excuse me, you've got that bottle, I'd have gone, oh, okay, and like threw the bottle away. But I didn't hide it. I didn't hide it in anywhere. I actually just walked into the camp as you walk in to go make your way to the starting line. And I physically had it in my hand and no one stopped me. So I was a bit like, I've got it. And then I was like, I'm keeping it with me. So I was fine in the end. But yeah, I was mixing them in the bottle that I had with the water that they were giving me on the course.
So I think that's why you probably got away with it then, because you didn't actually take water in the bottle. You took an empty bottle.
No. I just took an empty bottle,
Yeah, so that was allowed, I think. That was the crazy thing. It was just the liquids that people couldn't carry in. So a lot of people want to do it with the camel packs or carry some kind of liquid, and they would just take one to the start area to hang around for 20 minutes, half an hour that you're hanging around, or maybe more even, and to be able to keep sipping on stuff then, but you weren't allowed. I think that's why it impacted people. I think they have revisited that decision afterwards because, as you said, it was really warm that day.
Yeah.
So how did you find it then? Because Boston was also quite warm.
Yeah.
And then London.
Yeah, and London. Oh, do you know what? That's the thing as well. I had such like things that people say wasn't the norm on some marathons. I felt like I had things that was like out, like unusual, that was out of the ordinary. So like obviously it was the hottest Tokyo one on record, was it? A lot of people, I think they had the highest amount of people not finish as well for Tokyo, didn't they? Which was, you just think going all that way, oh, you'd be absolutely gutted going all that way. And I think that's because they take people off the track if they don't hit certain markers, don't they, as well? Yeah, which is
there is a cut-off point.
A cut-off
point. But for anybody
yeah.
listening, apparently you can argue with them. You don't have to come off. You can just say, no, I'm going to pick up time and make it up, and they give you a chance to keep going through. So you can run faster in the second half, but they don't tell people that. So a lot of people do just get off when
they're all stood behind you and they're like sweeping you off. I've seen some videos of people in Tokyo, and I think, imagine if you just, even if it's the first one, and you'd think the first one, you'd think, oh no, I can try and pick it up, because you might be being like conservative type of thing with your time or your running. But then later on, the more you go and the more you've put into the run, I can't think of anything more upsetting than someone just sweeping you off the course.
What is the time cut off roughly? What pace is it?
It's relatively quick.
Is it? Like
I
inside 6 hours?
6 hours. I think it's around about 6, maybe
Wow.
6.5. I'm not 100% sure on
But
that,
they
but I
cut you
know
off earlier on in the race. So I think the
they'll
first
stop you
one's
at
the first
halfway.
5K. They do it. Tokyo's the only one I know that do that, where I think it's maybe because they've got to open the roads up quick, but they have maybe 4 stops where they sweep you off. Whereas, like, obviously you've got the cut off. A lot of the marathons have the cut off by the end of the marathon, where you've got to make it by a certain time. But Tokyo, they cut you off. Like, I'd say maybe at 4 stops. There's 4 different time things that you've got to hit, and they just come. And honestly, when I've seen some of the videos, I think, wow, they literally like people and like cars behind you, and then after a certain point they say no and they pick you up and take you off.
Makes you feel happy that London has a secondary finish line after a certain time.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant, isn't it? They stay on it until
Yeah.
And New
midnight,
York,
don't
does
they?
New York have like let everyone finish as well?
Yeah. New York do the same thing. I think they keep the main finish line because it's in the park open, and so they leave that open.
Well, did you do that, Paula, in New York, where after we finished and had our dinner, some of the elites went back out to cheer on the late finishers? Did you ever do that? I forget what it was called, but
I didn't. But when I was doing it, there weren't the waves that there are now.
Yeah, okay,
So the finishers were kind of, I guess, in, but I don't know.
But
I didn't do that.
But it was
I
to
did go back
create
to
the
London.
atmosphere for everyone that was finishing, even if they were taking 12 hours. It was like we were going out as a group to keep the numbers up for the finish line kind of buzz. Because obviously once it got to like 10, 11 o'clock at night, you can forgive a lot of people going to bed. But yeah, we as an elite group would go back out to sort of cheer them in. But yeah, which is good.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And so then you went to Sydney as well, Nicola, and experienced. So you're one of the few people in the first year that actually did do the 7. And I know they didn't give you an actual medal. Sophie Raworth, who we're following through on this one, is another one who did it. What did you think of that one?
I love Sydney. I mean, I thought the course was beautiful. I thought it was lovely. I didn't know how hilly it was at the beginning, so I wasn't as prepared. I think I heard a lot of people say that it was the second half more than the first, but I thought it was quite hilly all the way, to be honest. It had part of it that wasn't, but it was a really lovely run. Yeah.
And the atmosphere?
Finish. Amazing. Honestly, it was really amazing. The one thing I would say, I was looking forward to seeing my, and some people might not know this, but because it's not part of the 6-star medal, Sydney, I was looking forward to seeing my name on, where they have the board where you have the 6-star finishers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I went to the centre where you go and pick your bib up and everything, the expo, I was saying, oh, where's the boards with all the names? And they were like, oh no, we don't have that here because this doesn't contribute to the 6-star medal. So I was looking forward to seeing my name to be a 6-star finisher, because obviously this was my 7th one. So I'll have to wait till London, I think, to see that again, myself personally.
I assume probably goes without saying, if they add more majors though, that you're going to be one of the first names on the list to give it a go.
I was looking forward to doing Cape Town, and I think you can still do it, can't you? But if they pass it that day, they can give you like an honorary star, is it? Or they can give you...
I think it's postponed, isn't it, Paula? I think it's just delayed.
Yeah, well, it had to be postponed at short notice, the last one, because of the high winds.
Yeah.
Which I think has then put them off for that kind of next stage, because that was meant to be their kind of qualification process.
But is the one coming up? Is that going to be? Can they do the checklist for it there to award it to be a major?
I don't know. I don't know where they are with that. I know it is in the pipeline, building towards that, and also one in Asia there. So just speaking about targets there, I mean, those are potential targets. You say, are you doing Cape Town this year then?
I did want to do it, but it's not officially a major. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think if you do it and they decided to major on that day, you will get the star. That's what I've read. I might be wrong.
Yeah. We'll try and find out the answer to that question for you.
So,
we'll definitely work that out
this year, right?
I'm doing London for Alder, officially for Alder Hay this year as part of their team. Yeah.
So how's that preparation going? Because we are following the London pathway, but how is that going at the moment?
Yeah, and I've stalled a little bit. We spoke off air before. I've got a little injury on my heel at the moment, so I just need to find out what that is. But yeah, I haven't run for 3 weeks, so um, yeah, I just need to check what that is. I've done everything I'm meant to do. I've rested, I've physio, I've done everything. So I've got a little X-ray or scan. I don't actually know what it is. Just to check and to rule out a few things. But I'm hoping that I can get back to it.
How has that been as a process for you? I mean, you are a very mentally strong person, as we all can hear from this interview. Like, how has that been? Obviously, we've got what is it, 11, 12 weeks to London, so you've got plenty of time. But obviously, it still doesn't feel particularly nice to not be able to run. Because off air, you mentioned the classic line of when you know you're a runner of "I just want to run without pain," and that's always that line of like we take for granted until we can't. So how has that been in terms of you to kind of keep that patience and when you have got an aim in sight?
I think because I do believe I'll be fine. I mean, it's just mentally, I do believe that I will be running it and I'll be fine. But the maybe I'm that's what I'm clinging on to. But I don't. I think for me now, I just want to run. I just want to run and it to feel good. I think that's just what I want to do. Yeah. So I do believe that if I run it, if I'm in pain, I'm in pain. If I'm not, I'm not. So yeah, I do just want to run.
I mean, it is one of those. It's definitely one of those things that it's probably one of you talked about going through the knee injury and things like this, but this is the first injury that's actually made you take a long period of time off. And it is that turning point, I think, for all of us, isn't it, Thommo? It's the one thing that when you get back from, you're just so glad to be able to do it. And it makes you gain a new sense of perspective and appreciation for just being able to get out and run. So those days when it's pissing it down with rain and you really don't want to go out and do it, you're kind of a bit more up for doing that, because you think, I had all that time and it was taken away, and I would have killed to be able, not literally, but I would have loved to have been able to get out and be able to do it, and I couldn't. Are you able to do anything? Are you able to do any cross training on it?
No, but I've completely rested, but depending on what they say, I know that's what I'm gonna have to do. I haven't even walked or anything. I've not done anything on it. I've completely rested, and that is one thing that I've learned is, having done all the others, I obviously I had to, because I had the marathons like consecutively, one after each other. But I'm quite good now of not running with a twinge or working out if there's a problem, because I think I think you can make things worse. So for me now, I'm more listening to my body a lot more and do the rehab, even though it's boring, and do the exercises and the ice and 3 times a day. I'm so on it with things like that now, more than what I used to be. 100%, yeah.
It is. I mean, it's really frustrating. I know you explained a little bit about the injury to us before you came on, and it certainly sounds like there's potentially a little bit of a neurological element to it, in terms of the fact that you have offloaded it and you haven't really seen any improvement in in those 3 weeks. And generally you would see some, I think, in that time. So, I mean, time kind of, it is about just eliminating, and sadly that's the way most of us have to go through those serious injuries, is first eliminate bone stuff, then eliminate muscle and tendon things, and kind of look at all of the different elements that can play into it. But it is extremely frustrating, and I think you talked beforehand about the importance of your support team and Jamie's support, your family support, your friends on the route in getting through that. It almost feels like when you're injured, you need that even more, in terms of just keeping the spirits up, because we're not getting that big endorphin hit that we normally do from being able to go out the door and run. So you need to get it in different ways and just stay positive.
Yeah, it is addictive. It makes you feel good, the running and going out. So I know exactly what you mean about, like, you do take it for granted. And I do feel like when you get back and you're back fit again, there's nothing like those runs of just feeling free and on the run and not having no twinges and not thinking about, you know, like what could go wrong. You're just actually enjoying the run. And a lot of people who've stopped me when I've done the marathons, they said, oh, I've run a marathon, I hated every minute of it and I'll never do it again. And a lot of people have said to me, are you all done now? All the marathons, they're all done. And I'm like, yeah, but I've got more coming. And they're like, why are you doing it? I'm like, why would I stop? I love it. I was like, I absolutely love it. But some people who do it don't love it. And I get that. It's not your thing. You don't love it. You haven't got the endorphins or the feel good factor about going out and running. So, and I feel for people who don't get that buzz from going out and doing it, because I do. I love it. I love putting my tunes on. I love going out and just
That was going to be
flies by.
That was going to be one of my questions, because I want to pick your brains, because I feel like you are such an inspiration for people getting started into it. And you're absolutely right. People kind of can train for a marathon, prepare for them, run the marathon themselves in lots of different ways. And so just give us so are you someone that listens to music? I know we chatted to Sophie Raworth, and she was saying how she doesn't like to do the long runs over the same route. She likes to go over a different route each time.
Yeah.
So how do you like to do your running and your preparation?
So when I first started, I put together a playlist, and it's just songs that remind me of people or a time, or it's not just songs that I like, they mean something to me. So my running playlist is, and I've built it that way. And there's lots of there's some songs that like make me feel something, where it's a song like makes me feel powerful. There's some motivational, those motivational speaking songs. I've got a few of those. And actually the London Marathon, I listened to one of those songs, and it's those ones like, you can do this, you were born to do this, like proper inspirational ones. Are you gonna give up? Like them proper, someone like speaking in your ear songs. And I listened to it for 13 miles.
Wow.
To finish, because I was in that much agony from the Boston the 6 days before. And I was like, no, I need this person to drum this into because it was, for me, it was like just this was the final run type of thing. So I was like, no, I can't. Everyone's waiting for me to finish. I had about like 40 people come down to London. And I was like, no, I needed this song, because I was in agony. I was in absolute agony for London. So I definitely needed that song, but it drummed into me ear. But a lot of the time it's just songs that will take me mind somewhere, so that, I don't know, it might be a song that reminds me of my kids, my husband, a certain time in my life when I was younger, my mum and dad, so... Yeah, I do love my little playlist for when I'm running. I get excited. I go, oh, that playlist again, because I don't listen to it all the time. It does make me want to go out for a run and listen to that playlist.
That's what Adele Roberts does, isn't it? That's what she said, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's a similar thing. So do you listen to, because did Adele say she did listen on the long runs? So in your long runs in training, do you listen to the same podcast, same playlist, or do you listen to different ones?
No, it's no matter what run I go on, I listen to the same playlist. It's my running playlist. Right. So I know which song is coming up next. I'm like, yeah, it's this one next. And sometimes if I want a bit of I'll shuffle it. But I like to know what song's coming next.
Can I ask I want to give you get your advice on something here, because again, the thing that I love listening to you about is how much your achievements mean to you, and how much they inspire you to do more. And I know I've kind of touched on it, but I often, when I speak to other people about what they do, they will say things like, I want to run a marathon in 5 hours or 6 hours, but it's only this, it's only that, almost belittling it before they've even done it.
Yeah.
And I always get not frustrated is not the right word, but I almost, when someone wants to achieve something that's personally difficult to them, that's all that matters. It's not about comparing and contrasting. Yeah. So I guess just your advice to people in that way, because you obviously embody what achieving something means to you, and how people can be inspired by that, by your kids and everyone. And as Paula said, kids are probably more inspired by these than Jamie for these different types of reasons. But like, what
they
advice
were,
to
in
people?
fact. So you can maybe answer that question, because didn't you do? Was it New York you did with Mia?
Yeah, so I got into my fitness because my daughter went to drama school in New York, and I honestly, I struggled mentally. I did. Maybe with the time scale. She was only 18, so she was on her own in New York, and I struggled with, just like any mum would. But the fact that the time difference was so far apart, and it was when I should have been going to sleep, so I struggled with my sleep, and then I was waking up. I had a terrible diet, and I was a bit of a mess, to be honest. And I got into my fitness about 10 weeks before she came home. I was like, right, you look like you've gone to pot. You need to you need to be going to the gym. And it was getting me up of a morning, and just some form of structure, and mentally massively it helped me. And I always say, I never thought I'd run a marathon. We'd gone on holiday, and I was so much into the gym at the time that we'd gone on holiday and there was no gym, and I panicked. I was like, what am I going to do? Because mentally that's what I was doing, was going the gym, and, that was my thing. So there was no gym, but we'd gone to the Monaco Grand Prix. So we'd stayed in Ez, and there was a lovely coastal route, and I thought, right, I'm going to run along that every morning.
Nicola, do you know where I live?
No?
In Ez.
Do you? Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Well, we have but up in the village. You were on the coast, were you?
Yeah.
So I'm up in the higher version
It's so
of Ez, but
beautiful.
I
I
know the trail
absolutely loved
you're
it. Yeah.
talking about.
So that's what I
I
set
don't
out. So I
live
was
there,
like,
by the
and I
way.
didn't know where it was going to take me. The what? Sorry.
I don't live there. I very much don't live there. But that's sorry. Carry on. Me just being silly.
It's so beautiful. Well, that's where my marathon dream started, was
Wow.
there, because I ran 6 miles every day. And the actual picture I've got on my Instagram of my on my running page, I think I'm doing something like this or like this, and I took a selfie, and that was the moment. I was going home later that day, and I was like, Nicola, you're going to run a marathon. I was like, you've loved this running, you've always wanted to run one, so when you get home, you're like. And it was that moment I decided when I took the picture, and I loved it. I honestly, it was like, wow, I've loved running. I can't tell you how much it switched them from the gym to the running. And I do believe that had there been a gym on holiday that week, I wouldn't have ran, and maybe I wouldn't have had the dream of, running the marathon. So every obstacle or something that stops you or sidetracks you, it can either be a sidetrack or someone shoving you somewhere to go, this is to do this type of thing. So that is where the running dream started. And up until that point, I'd never ran. I'd ran a couple of
Thank you.
5Ks.
It's so brilliant,
Yeah.
isn't it, Thommo? It's like we can almost bottle you and use you as like advertisement for anybody turning to running. And I think for those of us that also love running, it's amazing to see somebody else kind of discovering something that you feel really passionate about as well. I think that's why we all enjoy the majors so much, because you're basically there with a lot of other like-minded people. So did Mia get into running just to do the New York with you, or was she already
Oh no, she
already
didn't do
running
the New
before?
York with me. Sorry. So while she was living in New York, I'm saying she inspired me. I got into my fitness because I didn't want her to come home and see me all like, in a terrible state, because she'd gone off and was doing what's her dream and what she's doing. And so, but I ended up hating New York. I hated it because she lived there. And I think it just, because I was following her on, like, I think it was the Life 360, I just dreaded it. And it was always somewhere I've took her dancing, and she'd gone there to acting school from the age of 10. So it was always our little thing. So New York for me was one of my favourites because it was full circle. She come with a boyfriend, and we went, and we absolutely loved New York again, because it was, I don't know, it was a different feeling. We'd gone there and it was for something good, and yeah, it was a full circle moment. So I loved being there with her, because maybe that's for me where all this started, was the fitness first, and then that led me on to running. So yeah.
So was there one that you ran with your daughter though, or did
No,
I just imagine that?
I've never.
Oh, sorry, I thought I I guess it
No,
was just that she was there supporting you.
she was there supporting me. Yeah.
Brilliant.
She come to Boston with me as well, actually, and she got to all the little, all the little points. It was just me and her in Boston.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe where it was. I bumped into you there, and
Yeah.
she was getting to
Yeah.
along. But I think that's. I'm just going to quickly, because we do need to wrap this up. I wish we
Yeah.
could talk to you for ages, because, like I say, you're so inspirational for anybody
Oh,
just
thank
starting
you.
out and wondering whether they can do it on the journey. But I love the fact that Jamie just got on the metro around Tokyo to give you your gels and cheer you on. And I remember chatting to you when we talked on the podcast recording there about he wouldn't be able to do that in London. Was he able to
Yeah.
get to different points? Did he go
He did
incognito?
with the help of Mia, because I think he met somebody in Tokyo who helped him. And I'll be honest, I will say this: I would rather run them sometimes when I see what the spectators have to do. So
Oh, yeah.
fair play to them. I'd rather run them than be a spectator. When I laugh at some of the stories that my sister never, everyone tells me of how they got to places. But he did in London with the help of Mia. Like Mia was like, "Mum, just so you know, you wouldn't have got those gels. You wouldn't have got that stuff that went in for me. I got me dad to this place and that place." And I was like, "Thanks, love." So she took
So
credit for
did
it.
she put him in disguise, or is that literally because Jamie can't read him out?
No, as in, no, he wouldn't have been able to. I think so. Like, as in, like, navigate. I'm not saying as if he wouldn't, but obviously he gets stopped a lot more. So I think
Yeah,
he probably got the anxiety of that, like, having to wanting to be somewhere, and then obviously other people taking and he wouldn't want to have took the attention or anything. So he
that's what
got
I
me to the
was.
start, and then we
Yeah,
met and took us round. Yeah.
I think that's probably why where my head was going is that he'd have to put himself in disguise. So I was thinking, with her acting thing, did she actually dress him up and so that he wouldn't get stopped, so he could get to the different points?
I think that's what helped him in Tokyo. Being Jamie Carragher helped him, because people would stop and talk to him, and he'd say, "Oh, excuse me, how do you get to this place?" So he'd say, or he'd ask for a picture, and he'd go, "Right, okay, now you need to help me. I need to get to this place to meet my wife." So he got, I think, being Jamie Carragher helped him, because it got him the help to get to certain places. Like I say, I don't envy him. I wouldn't have wanted, especially in Tokyo. It looked a
Yeah,
nightmare.
I know. So it hasn't given him the bug. He doesn't want to have a go.
No, honestly, and I do believe he could, but he says he couldn't dream of running for that long. And one of the things he said to me, he says to me is, I couldn't do it. Even me, and both of my kids are quite sporty, but even she said she'd done like maybe a 10K, and she said, "It blows my mind that you run that another 3 times, like that time." She was like, it blows my mind that you're running for like 4 hours." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just what it is." And she goes, "I'm so bored. I get bored after like, that's like me limit." But yeah.
Oh, no, it has been so good. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
it's so
Nicola, for
nice
joining
speaking
us.
to you too
Really
as
hope
well.
that injury you're gonna get to the
I know,
bottom of
I
it
hope
and
so.
settle down. But keep that positive outlook, because
And have you
that
have you
is.
got any coming up this year, or are you doing? What are you doing?
Not at the moment, no. I'm just kind of, my calf took a little bit of recovery
Yeah,
from Boston, so I'm back to running now, but I'm not back to running that far on the roads.
yeah,
My next one is probably going to be a trail one, and
yeah.
then
Of
I'm never
course.
say never.
Yeah.
I got inspired about the Icelandic one on the
Oh,
snow,
oh.
That'd be good.
so I'm
I'd love to
quite,
do
yeah,
something
that's
like
one
that.
that, yeah,
Absolutely.
it's those little challenge ones. So I'll let you know
Yeah,
about that
something
one
a
if you
bit
want to join.
different. Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, definitely.
mm.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nicola.
Oh, thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me.
thank you.
Thank
You've been a
you.
legend.
So that was a really good. I do honestly feel, like I said in the interview, we could bottle that as how to get the most out of a mental strength, psychological build up for not just one marathon, but 7 marathons, but for any tough, challenging experience. I feel like her outlook is really good. So good luck, Nicola, in that recovery process from the injury. I do feel like your mental strength will be the one that gets you through this, although obviously the medics need to get to the bottom of it, but that mental strength will keep you hanging in there, because this is a tough one.
It's hard to stop someone when they have a "I will do this" mindset. I mean, it's that I kind of that never give up attitude is literally all you've got sometimes,
Yeah.
because it's not necessarily about achieving or whatever it is being of a certain standard. The default that we all have within us to make a choice is whether we choose to keep fighting or not. And I think she epitomizes that angle of, like she said, she will find a way with London. And that right now it doesn't look too good because she doesn't have an answer to the injury issues. She just knows she will find a way to make it work best. And that's all we can have it sometimes. That's all we need sometimes, just to make the next step.
Yeah, and just trying to work your way through it and get answers, I think, is great advice for everybody out there. I mean, when you do hit upon an injury or something, an illness or anything just doesn't feel right in your training, the best thing you can do is actually what Nicola's done, isn't it? Is stop, rest, and try and get to an answer and try and work out the why. And then you can work on getting back from it. But it's extremely hard through that stage where you don't know what it is that's causing the issue. And so working through that, I think, is brilliant. I also love the way that she's just discovered that passion, that love for running. A little bit later in life. It just proves that you can discover things that you have a real passion for at any point in life, but when you do have that, it does help you to get through the training for something like the marathon.
I think the it's key to remember that by stopping like she did for her injury is not giving up. It's just redirecting your focus to find a solution and being slightly more sensible with not making the hole bigger. And I think sometimes that can get lost. I certainly, in my career, there was times where I didn't want to stop running because it felt like I was giving up, but it wasn't that. It was just redirecting. But I do find it incredible to think her running journey happened down the road from you. Like, that is... How on earth did that? It's like the writing on the wall thing there. That is.
It was when she was saying about the airs pass. So just to clarify, I mean, obviously I live in Monaco, but we have the house that we go to weekends and holidays and things. So often I would run between the two, and that would be along those beach trails that I think she's talking about. And then there was a really tough climb that goes from the sea, obviously, right up to the mountains at the back, and that is a really difficult one. So I don't think that's probably what inspired her, but certainly the beach ones really do it. It's funny how it's there's always a few degrees of separation from people just tying them together.
Yes.
I've got the old Liverpool separation one as well, because my dad being from there, my grandparents living there, they're pretty much there through their whole lives, and of course being big Liverpool fans.
As am I.
And you too.
Yeah,
so there we go. Big circle completed.
There you go.
And we are following, talking of circles, we are, of course, following Sophie Raworth is one of the London runners that we are following through this build up to London. So it is now time to drop in with Sophie and catch up and see what she's been up to this week. I'm going to guess she's a little bit ahead of the game, just because she's Sophie and she is a pro now at getting ready for the London Marathon, but always brings a few nuggets of wisdom. So time to catch up with Sophie. Hiya, Sophie. Big catch up first of all on how things are going so far.
Well, I'm just back from a run. I've literally just jumped out of the shower.
Brilliant.
I've just been on my run.
Nice.
The sun is out, and I was supposed to go yesterday, and I didn't go yesterday. I did that I looked at it, it was torrential rain, and I thought, oh God. And I looked at the weather forecast and I thought, I'll go tomorrow. So I've just been out today, but it was nice, and no, it's all going all right actually. I just have this training plan, and I follow my training plan, and I sometimes I really don't want to go out, and the runs are getting longer. I don't know about you guys, but the big long runs, I mean, I'm up to doing 18 miles, or I'm now translating, I'm into Ks as well, about 30K. So I'm actually running sort of 18 miles or 30K most weeks now. And because I actually do that anyway year round, I do quite long distances all year round, I get a bit bored of the same routes. So that's my big challenge. What do you do, Paula, when you do your big runs? Do you do the same run, or do you vary it? How do you keep it interesting?
I actually, when I was competing, I used to do the same run and try and get a little bit further each week as I got closer to marathon day. So in the time, I'd be running a little bit quicker each time. But yes, when I was coming back this year and just kind of trying to get the work done, I did vary it a little bit. Try to stick to roughly the same thing so that I could have checkpoints, because I think psychologically it was good for me to see progression.
I just see. I couldn't do that. So the same run, and what was it? A sort of flat run in laps or something, or what were you running?
No, I mean, it really depended what I was getting ready for. And so when I was in the mountains, it was pretty hard to find a totally flat run. It was easier in Albuquerque, than when I was in the Pyrenees. And so I would just have the regular run, which would have some hills built into it. I guess that's why I kind of wanted to keep it the same, because I knew that then the splits would be roughly the same, because it varied according to the terrain and loops. So if you did a different way around in a different order, then the splits would be completely off because of the hills at different points. And then for
Thommo?
Boston, I definitely put in big hills.
Yeah, it's interesting because I like the bit that Paul is talking about. I like the familiarity, but I also, when I got the longer runs, I found it quite tough. One of the big fundamental changes I made to my training is I switched from monitoring the mileage of the run to the time, because it doesn't make a difference at the end of the day, but I switched to time. But the reason I switched to time is because it made me be more imaginative around Bushy Park. So in London, in Bushy Park, I did a lot of my long runs. And so when it's distance, I just wanted to know that it's a mile from here to here. And so I would follow quite similar routes. By having time, I'd go a 20-minute loop, and then I go, figure out another 20-minute loop. So I was quite imaginative with using time rather than distance, just to kind of break it out. And then if I wanted to run a bit quicker, I'd look for a 20-minute section that was a bit more generous, and then other sections that are a bit more complicated I wouldn't mind so much. So it was kind of, I shifted, which was quite nice. But do you mix up your runs then? Are you kind of doing different venues?
I mix them up. I go all over the place. So you guys, I mean, you are obviously doing something very different to what people like me are doing, and what probably most people who are listening to you are doing, which is, you were obviously doing it for a very competitive reason. And I think it's really important on the long runs. They're quite daunting and quite intimidating still, and I've done them for years. It's that notion that I have to get up and run. It's Sunday morning, and I always do it on a Sunday morning. I have to go and run 18 miles on a Sunday morning, and I'm just like, oh, really? And I have all these things where I think, oh, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. No, just get it done. And what I now do, I love the OS map, the Ordnance Survey map. They have an app, and you go online. I go on my phone, and I live by the River Thames, so I know the River Thames. I could tell you the distances between each bridge up, literally to the I don't know, the meter. And I've done it so many times. So now what I do is I go out of London if I can, and I go all over the place, and only half an hour on a Sunday morning. It's really easy. And there's no traffic at all. And I get up, and I've got it all timed. So I listen to the radio for like half an hour, and I get out somewhere, and I just pinpoint somewhere. And if you get the OS app on your phone, you do have to pay for the version I'm telling you about, which is I think it's about 20 quid a year, 25 quid a year, but it's so worth it. If you've got a smartwatch, like I've got a Garmin, and then I decide where I'm going, and I look at the footpaths, and it's got all the national trails on it and all the footpaths, and I can literally on my phone plot a route from anywhere, from a car park. It shows you car parks, and I plot a route, and then I save it on the app, and I download it onto my phone, onto my watch. It goes onto my watch. My watch has a map, and I just turn my watch on, and as I'm running, it goes, go left, go right. It beeps. It has a map. It shows me where I'm going. So I turn my long runs into an adventure. And I tell you, 18 miles just goes like that.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's great fun. And you don't have to...
So what do you do for fueling, Sophie? Do you carry it with you? Or do you get people to meet you on the route?
No, no, I haven't. No, my family they're not quite that committed. Come and meet me on the route and give me food. No, that's not going to happen. No, I just take gels. I just take gels in a backpack. So I have my backpack, and I only need, I take gels every 5 miles, which is what, 8K. I take gels every sort of 5 miles. Every 40 minutes or so I'll take a gel. But also the long run for me, and again, it's different to what you're doing, and different to people who are really hitting competitive levels and doing pacing sessions and the rest of it. For me, it is just time on feet. So it's just getting out there, and it's not about pace when I'm doing the long run. It's time on feet. So the speed stuff I do in the week, but I love the adventure. I've seen some amazing places and amazing things just on my long runs that, people, lots of people won't see just because I've been exploring. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
So you're already up to 30k at the moment, but I guess I'm always conscious of that age-old question of you alluded to the fact that you are a kind of a seasoned runner, not just with marathons but with training. So 30k for you is a is something that your body can handle and stuff, because obviously we're still like 12-11 weeks out from the marathon. So to anyone kind of on this adventure and hearing 30k is potentially going to be their longest run,
Don't
what
listen to
kind
me.
of long run would be for you? No, not that. It's just in terms of when you were starting out, kind of, were you more around the 15-20k mark on a long run, or how did you,
Yes, I
when did you
mean,
start off before building up to that?
well, I mean, I'm doing this in conjunction with my daughter, who is starting from scratch, and she is on, what's she doing at the moment? She's running. I think she's got to run for. I think she's doing about 1 hour 50 or something. She's doing it in time. She's doing just time on feet for now, just to build her body up slowly. So she's doing sort of 1 hour 50 run this weekend. So she's a little, yes, I'm running, but I kind of, and I run year round. So I do marathon train year round, in some shape or form. And then I go off and do longer runs and sort of mountain runs and ultras and things like that. So and this year's getting a bit more mixed up because I haven't run a proper paced marathon for so long because of injury, and then because I had to pull out last year. So I've no idea what I'm going to do this year. I have no idea what London will be, and also I'm still not sure if I'm going to be running with my daughter or behind my daughter. I suspect it's going to be behind my daughter. You're talking in K. It's really funny because I've always run in miles. Do you run in K or miles? I'm guessing Paul, you run in miles.
I'm miles.
Oh, you live abroad.
Miles, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know, but I grew well. I am able to switch between the two because I've spent so much time here. But because I grew up learning minutes per mile and pace on the track and simple things like we talked about this on the podcast the other day, where we would say you might go down to the track and you might run 72-second laps. They don't say that. They say 3-minute K pace. And so I have to keep thinking between the two all the time.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's just trying to work things around it. And they talk in kilometres per hour instead of minute miles. So everything's flipped on its head. So I kind of find it easy in that it's two very different things. So I either talk in that one or that one, but I really have to think if it's in kilometres.
Well, the problem with the conversation around miles and K's on the K's on the track is the fact that a mile is not 4 laps; it's 4 laps and 10 meters,
9
whatever
meters.
it is.
And come on, Thommo, whatever it is.
Yeah, but a kilometre is 2.5 laps. I mean, at least it's 4, pretty much 4
exactly,
laps. A kilometre is 2.5. I can
Yeah.
see a mile in my head. If somebody says you've got a mile to go, I'm just like, right, that's 4 laps of a track. I can see it. But what are you running, Thommo? Do you run in kilometres or miles?
No, I run in miles, but it does create confusion. Like I'm saying, like if 72's on a lap, I think 448 mile, but it's not. And so when I convert to going out on the road, those 1 or 2 seconds make a difference. So it'd be more like 450 when you're running 448 on the track. So there's slight nuances there that kind of, when you're looking at the small details, but by definition, I do go off. It's funny, I go off miles, especially on the road, and generally, but when it comes to getting ready for a 5k or a 10k on the track, I get very much more obsessed around my K times.
Yeah.
But I still will operate in miles by definition and stuff.
I think it goes to what your ultimate competition is that you're getting ready for. So if you're getting ready for a 5K, makes sense to think in Ks. If you're getting ready for a 10K, makes sense to think in Ks. But if you're getting ready for a marathon, I always think psychologically to get ready for 26 miles is much easier than 42 kilometres.
That's my point.
So you're looking at it too much, and it's almost like breaking it down into too many little chunks.
I know, but the problem is, see, what I've now discovered, now that I'm training with my daughter, is that old people me, training miles. And I'm not saying you two are old. I think I'm older than you, but anyway, I think the older runners,
much.
the people who've been doing it more, we run in miles, and the younger lot, they run in kilometres. Because my daughter, I say to her, I've run at this pace. I've just done a 7-minute mile for a whatever, and she looks at me. She goes, "A what? Sorry, a what?" And I have to get my phone out and translate it into kilometres. But so she runs in kilometres. She does not understand miles. Her friends don't run in miles. They all run in kilometres. And they all look at me slightly strangely because I'm running in miles. All these, I went on this club run recently. They were down by the river. There was this there were about 300 young people, they were average age 29. They were all in kilometres. Nobody spoke miles. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I was having to do a lot of translation.
Well, the thing is, I find when to your point of like pace, I find that bit confusing when you're doing Ks, because at least 5-minute miling is quite round. It's a round number, and you can kind of up and down it. But kilometre per hour, you start dealing with quite small numbers, and I'm like,
but Thommo,
no,
most of us are not doing 5-minute miling, Thommo. You are like unusual in that, all right? So you say. Okay. 5-minute miling, that's fine. I've never done a 5-minute mile in my life.
But you mentioned
you just need the right coach.
I've done a 5-minute kilometre. I do a 5-minute kilometre, which I now know is basically an 8-minute mile. I'm there. I'm doing a 5-minute something, but it is not a 5-minute mile.
Just to help you with that conversion, Sophie, you can go 2:20 marathon is a 5:20 mile is a 3:20k, roughly.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay. The 2:20 marathon, I mean,
that's the only one where it tallies like really evenly across both. But I do find it fascinating because all these people that you're talking about, they drive in the UK
in miles,
where everything is measured in miles, right? So what was the classic thing that we used to do before you had Garmin's, before you had anything? You would have to get someone either on a bike or you'd go around in the car and you would measure your long run route roughly to know how far it was. Or if you do it on the maps, most of those in the UK are mapped in miles. Most of the footpaths are mapped in miles. So that's why I kind of find it strange that they would think so many, the youngsters, in kilometres if you're running. I get it on the track and I get it from park run, I guess. But I don't for the longer runs, because I think most of the things, all the markers on the footpaths are generally miles, right?
Well, the problem with all this anyway, and now that I'm becoming a bit kind of au fait with both, just about getting my head around it, is I think my daughter's faster than me. Now that I understand the pace she's doing, I think she's already faster than I am. So I'm in trouble. So going back to the London Marathon, I'm in trouble. She's going to be running faster than me, and we're only in the early days, and she's only just starting out, and I think she's going to be faster than me. But anyway, there we go. We'll see. I'll have to really work hard to keep up.
I feel your pain with my son at the moment.
Oh, your son is ridiculous fast. I'm obviously going to have to work towards Thommo's 5-minute mile if I've got any hope of keeping up. That could be my challenge, Thommo. We could have just, you said it just like it was so easy. I could be doing that by the end of this sort of run of podcast. Can I do a 5-minute mile? I've done a 6-minute mile, but not a 5-minute.
There you go. Well, there's only a minute to find.
Only a minute to find that. Sorry, something happened.
Well, if we do it on the track, that's right. If you do it on the track, you get 9 meters for free.
Thank you so much, Sophie. It has been interesting, as always. Great to hear. I'm sure you will make progress, perhaps not to the 5-minute mile, but certainly towards that.
And what I think is great. I love a challenge. Thommo's already
exactly. That's what I mean, and I think it's a healthy challenge, because I'm sure that Ella is also trying to stay that one step ahead. And every time she sees yours, she's like, no, Mum's catching me up. I'm going to keep going out a little bit more. So I think that will be a really healthy, but also supportive rivalry, because you're pushing each other on, but you've got each other's back through the training, and you know what each other are going through as well. So I think it's going to be really exciting to follow this through.
Quite fun. I'm now thinking I might have to go down to the track though and just see how fast I can run a mile, because Thommo, I did hear you say, I'll train you.
You could do our challenge, Sophie. You've got to start your Garmin, not look at it, and judge a mile in your head, and try and stop it. You could try that one.
I can do. I mean, if you put me down where I normally run, I can do that anyway. But so okay, so I need to go somewhere where I don't normally run.
Yeah, somewhere you
have to go
don't go
somewhere new.
normally.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Actually, we didn't think of
Okay.
that little cheat, did we, Thommo?
Yeah.
No,
No, we
that's
didn't.
quite-
All
All right,
these
I'll do
people
that
will be
too.
leaving the house and going, I know exactly where the mile marker is.
I do. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
good luck.
All right, speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Well, great to get another enthusiastic lady in Sophie on to talk about how she's going. I think she's there was a few things there, but one of them I loved the way she dealt with the long run through the Ordnance Survey app. That was I bet you a lot of people look to do that and repeat that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I guess I like to call them exploring runs, and I'll do exploring runs, but for easy runs, recovery runs, when those ones where you're struggling to get the motivation and you just need a different challenge to get you out of the door. So that's when I would kind of go off and just think, right, I'm going to try and find a new trail or a new run that'll just take me back to the same place, or end up finishing at roughly the same place. I want it to be about this far and try and not go over the same trails that I've already run on. But to do it the way that Sophie's done, I think is brilliant. And it just goes to show that at this point, we're week 6, you're starting to think about long runs, and long runs are challenging. They're tough. You've got to think about fueling en route. You've got to think about hydration. You've got to think about ratcheting up that distance, and it feels hard, maybe even harder at this point than actually when you get to the longer distances, but you're further into the training and you feel a little bit stronger. So what do you think, Thommo? I really think it's time to find what works for you, and there is no set formula. I mean, Sophie talked about whether you run to distance or whether you run to time on your feet, whether you run with music or you don't run with music. It really is, I think, at this point, what works for you. It absolutely does not, and I would probably advise against it all being on the road. I would factor in some off-road. It is challenging at the moment because of the amount of rain that's been falling, so it does make some of those trails kind of not runnable or a bit more of an injury risk. So try and mix it up a little bit, perhaps with better trails. By that I mean drier, safer trails, and some road running, just to kind of not have too much pounding on the legs, but absolutely find what works for you in terms of how you gauge those long runs.
Yeah, I think she used a very key language of time on feet, because she's just trying to get round. So for her, running is, although I feel bad now, she's set a sight on a 5-minute mile, but we'll skip back to that.
I think you've laid that challenge down.
No, I know, I felt bad, but my and she's run a 6-minute mile, which is very quick, which is fantastic. But yeah, I think variety is key, creativity is key, all those key words. I think for me, there's breaking it down. There's that there is very much a key divide between kind of people that just want to get through and finish a marathon, and those that have very specific time goals, whatever that might be. It doesn't matter what that is. And so obviously with time goals comes with the thought process, I want feedback from my training. I'm getting close to those kind of goals. And so creating a venue that can help you do that versus someone who's trying to get round, it doesn't matter so much about where, how, and all that. You can be creative, but I think having a mixture of both sides can learn from each other. There are times in a place where you just need to have time and feet, and there's a time in a place where having a bit more of a structured, increased pace is going to be helpful, even if you're not necessarily interested in what that time is. Just feeling like you're running a bit quicker than what marathon, or close to what you feel marathon pace could be like for you, and that variety is very much key. And again, I'm not saying this is necessarily good, but I did something that someone said to me is they've been driven to like 12, 13 miles away from the home, and they have to run back. Is another an example of people have done, or go on a train and you run back, or even get a train back. You run to a location, get the train back, whatever it be. And that's where I think that's where running's great. You can be so creative, and it's not just about the 5-10 mile radius around where you live, even though there's a lot to explore. You can be a bit imaginative in that sense.
And mix it up in terms of people that you're running with as well.
Yes.
And how many people, we have lots, don't we, that write in and say that they might do a run to a park run, and then run home. Because then you're mixing it up. You're having a little bit of extra motivation by running with people, and also changes the pace a little bit within there, and make sure that you get there because you've committed to being there. You're probably meeting people there. And so you have to run there, and then you do what you can do afterwards. race, and people have done that with longer races as well. So it really is, isn't it, just trying to find out the best and the easiest way psychologically for you to do that, and also start thinking about some of those coping techniques. And that's actually one thing that I didn't ask Nicola that I really want to do, and I had written down on my notes, and then I remembered that I'd forgotten to ask her afterwards.
We can ask her again.
We can maybe just ping her a quick message when we're finding out how she gets over from that injury, and just find out what that coping technique is. Because I know Sophie's given us hers. We had Harry give his, didn't we? I think we had Rob give it last week. So I think it is important to kind of find that go-to that you're going to use. Actually, Nicola kind of did say it with her playlist, didn't she?
Yes, no, she
would
did.
go back
and
to the playlist.
Reinforced the kind of the mantra of one of the songs for London anyway.
Yeah.
But there's two. I mean, it's not quite as simple as this, but there's kind of coping mechanisms that kind of focus in on more acutely on what you're doing, and there's also the ones that almost offer as a bit of a distraction, and they're kind of they're both useful. And I think to add one more option before I put the challenge to you, Paula, your minute challenge was
great.
Something I quite enjoy doing is I like looking on Google Maps. I'm sure there are other venues you can go to on the internet, but look for areas that might be quite good for running, and then I try and work out on the roads how to get there, and then I use that kind of process of directing myself to that venue to have a look round, and that kind of being so occupied by my direction and making certain I go the right way offers a bit of distraction from the running. So I end up kind of finding my way, navigating my way to this area, exploring the area to see if it's good enough for sessions, and then coming back. And it just offers that bit of distraction from what you're doing as another way of doing it. And it's amazing what there is around you, that fields or roads that you wouldn't think to see it unless you're driving past it, and even then you might not drive past it because it's off the beaten track. But I get really engrossed in Google Maps and looking for places to run all the time.
Well, it's things that pass the time. I mean, you've just reminded me. So I was in Dubai working at the weekend, and so often means there that where we're staying, you can't always get fit runs in very easily. So had to find myself on the treadmill. Don't particularly like running on the treadmill, and I just thought, right, this one had like guided runs on it, and it was actually the view of you running, and it was a really nice coastal trail run, climb run. And I thought, well, I'm just going to try that, because my foot gets sore because of the monotony of a treadmill. So it's always at exactly the same foot strike, and it tends to irritate my foot. So I thought I'll try that, and it's going to change the up and down, change the gradient of the run throughout. And it was really good. Loved it, because I was actually watching that. Did have to watch because I kept going a bit too close to the edge of the treadmill, because I guess I move around a lot naturally when I run. But the only drawback was it didn't change the speed. So I was like tipping along fine at 1%, 1.5%, 2%. Then when it ramped it up to 8%, I was quickly trying to grab the speed control. So a little bit of feedback to anybody that designs an app like that. You might want to slow the pace down, because most people can't go the same speed up the hill.
Well,
and if you're not a treadmill pro, you're not very good at turning the pace down quickly.
And not all treadmills are easy. Like some have these like flippers, and some are like buttons. But it's not always easy.
Yeah, so that was a tough one to find. Anyway, 1 minute challenge.
Yes, no.
My 1 minute challenge then was finding the up and down speed.
Yeah, well, you're good at these minute challenges, but right, Paula.
What is my challenge this time?
What is your? I would like to hear from you your funniest celebrity moment whilst running. Your 1 minute starts now.
I might have to be creative with this, because it's kind of a knock-on from running. So does that count? That links it. So when I broke the world record in 2002 in Chicago, it was in Chicago where Oprah is filmed. And after the race, I got a contact, and I thought it was a wind-up at first, and it was from the Oprah Winfrey Show. And of course, she is a keen marathon runner. She's run the Marine Corps Marathon. Anyway, the day of the race, she decided that she would make herself get on the treadmill, and she could not get off until the first woman finished. So she basically invited me onto her show, which was all about miracles, which I was not a miracle at all. I just run a fast race, that was all. And I was on with all these genuine miracles, like somebody who'd survived a massive pile-up between lorries and come out of it unscathed, a baby that had gone out in the middle of the night in Edmonton and been frozen almost totally solid and came back and recovered fully. But anyway, she invited me to thank me for having run the marathon so quickly so she could get off the treadmill.
How have you managed that in 58 seconds? How?
I've got a little clock in my head, also on the screen.
With 10 seconds to go, I was convinced you were going to go over by at least 10 seconds, and you still managed to conclude it. That is, I mean, let's not take away from the Oprah story. But wow, what a story.
A little bit of it genuinely is that we have to do it when I'm commentating. There'll be certain bits where it'll be 10 seconds to out, 5 seconds to out. So you have to time it to wrap up. But it is practice.
Well, you can see that I haven't practiced, but by the fact my attempts that I've had. But anyway, but that's a very good story. That is very good, and I think that is clearly she must have been very grateful that you. What was your world record? That one was that 2:18?
Well, I count it as 2:17, but it was 2:17.18 because I rounded it up.
Oh, that's where I'm getting the 18 from. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
It wasn't very funny, but it was kind of
Listen. I mean, I should have changed that word to your most amazing celebrity moment, because again, like, you know, it's funny, amazing. They're both the same. Anyway, right.
What
would have been funnier is if the first female had taken 10 hours or something, but that was never going to happen. Then she'd have been stuck on the treadmill for ages.
Before we go any further, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our friends at Wild Nutrition for sponsoring today's episode. They are offering Paula's Run Club listeners 50% off for 3 months, which is such a great way to support your routine as we head further into this year.
Yeah, it really is. Like, especially as we're in those shorter, darker days and colder months where food-grown vitamin D is more essential than ever. Even the UK Department of Health advises vitamin D supplementation between October and April, something that I know I did, and I'm sure you did, Paula,
Absolutely.
do, Paula.
And I think as runners, we feel it. Well, everyone feels it when there's those months without as much sunlight, and we really need that support. And what's impressive about Wild Nutrition is that an independently published scientific study found their vitamin D is 113% better absorbed and 106% better retained by the body than the leading high street tablet.
That's high. Those numbers are high. I mean, it means you're actually getting the benefit, helping to maintain calcium absorption and support normal bones and teeth.
Absolutely. And it also helps to maintain normal muscle function, which is vital when you're out there in the cold, putting in the work. And it all comes back to that core belief that our bodies are wired to recognize nutrients from food. And Wild Nutrition only ever use food-grown ingredients as close to their original food form as possible for absorption that you can trust and energy you can feel directly.
And our friends at Wild Nutrition are giving Paula's Run Club listeners an exclusive 50% off for 3 months and a free personal consultation with a nutritional therapist. Just go to wildnutrition.com/Paula to get started.
So that is wildnutrition.com/Paula, so you can feel the difference yourselves. Start 2026 rooted in wellness. Normal terms and conditions apply.
And off the back of that very exciting offer, we've actually got another ad for you with another exciting collaboration from our friends at NordVPN, who, for anyone who spends a lot of time abroad for races or work, it's an absolute lifesaver.
It absolutely is. I've been using NordVPN for a while now. It enables me to keep up to date with a lot of the athletics events while I'm traveling, and also anything that I've been streaming at home, watching with the kids, I can stay up to date with it.
Awesome. And for anyone who doesn't know, do you want to quickly explain what NordVPN actually does?
Absolutely. It stands for Virtual Private Network, and it offers extra privacy and security for you and your family when using the internet. But what I love most is that with one click, I can change my device's location, which means I can watch my favourite shows from home, even when I'm travelling all over, and you don't have to be a tech wizard to use it. It is literally just one click.
So even I can do it then. Which says a lot, which is cool for our listeners, because if you've got a race abroad in the future and you're worried about missing out on your favourite box sets, use NordVPN, and you can use the internet like you're at home.
And because you're listening to this podcast, we've got an exclusive discount for you. Just go to nordvpn.com/Paula's Run Club, or we've got clickables now. You can click on the link in the episode description.
There you'll get a massive discount with 4 extra months thrown in, all with a 30-day money-back guarantee too.
And as holidays come up and you're going away with the kids, perhaps, it's perfect for keeping those kids happy, because one subscription, you can log on with up to 10 devices. That's phones, tablets, iPads, whatever.
Brilliant. And just remind us of that code again, please.
That is nordvpn.com/Paula's Run Club. Enjoy.
Perfect.
And that is pretty much all that we've managed to squeeze into this episode. I think it's been a really strong one, informative, but has been a bit longer. So if you have been out on a run, hopefully that's passed a little bit more time as you ramp up your long runs. Do not forget that the Shakeout drops every Thursday, main pod on a Monday. And if you want to send in questions for that, it is to Paula's Run Club at momentumbroadcast.co.uk, at Paula's Run Clubs on socials, and the WhatsApp number +44 7564 747 914 has been a Momentum Broadcast production. Thank you very much for listening.
See you next week.